before that, let's bring in Nick Freeman, motoring lawyer. He's known as Mr. Loophole. Nick, 1 in 20 people avoiding the charge on the crossing. Are you surprised by that, or is that kind of almost like an acceptable level?
Well, it's 95% who pay. I suppose in the overall scheme of things, it's not bad. It could be better. The big problem, two big problems. One is foreign drivers. The freedom of information request, they say they've got the information, but they won't respond to any of it. So one can assume that in essence, foreign drivers have a green light to come over here, use our roads and not contribute in any way, shape or form, confident in the fact that they're not going to be pursued for it because apart from anything else, even if we get the information, it's not cost effective.
I was going to say it would cost quite a bit of money to chase down a fixed penalty notice, wouldn't it?
100%. And the other problem, of course, is people who have vehicles that aren't taxed, that aren't registered, they're not insured. And, with the absence of police on our roads, it's a huge problem. And they're pretty confident, even though we have automatic recognition cameras, that they're going to get away with it. And there's hundreds and hundreds of thousands on our roads. And they're obviously, there's a large concentration in the southeast.
Is there a foolproof system, Nick, in your view? Because like we said, we had the barriers. You couldn't really get around that. You had to pay your pound. Well, but the price of that was horrific queues.
Yeah, and in my mind, it might be better that the crossing doesn't have sufficient capacity to deal with 50 million cars, so it needs to be expanded. And the money, I hear what your previous contributor said, but the money needs to be invested in the infrastructure so that we don't have this congestion. Vehicles are much cleaner now. They're moving cleaner and cleaner. We need to reinvest in that, as long with other measures as well. So in terms of is there a perfect system, certainly for the foreign drivers, yes, there is. With technology, if they don't pay when they come in, and you could charge them when they come in, so part of their ticket fee would be a contribution to the toll, but of course some won't use it. So what you could do is have a system whereby if they haven't paid, they're picked up on a computer when they go out, and they have to then pay the fine, which would be say £100 or something like that. That's simple technology. In terms of people who are just refusing to register their vehicles, that's a very difficult problem.
Is there? I mean, I might be over glamorising this, but is there a moral motivation that comes into this? With people thinking, do you know what? We were supposed to pay that charge for 25 years, and when the bridge was paid for, it was supposed to go, and we're still paying for it. So I'm going to find a way to get around it. Or do you think it just doesn't come into it? People just get away with what they can.
I think the vast majority of the motoring public accept that they need to contribute a relatively modest amount for using it. I think there's a fairly small minority who willfully refuse and use cat runs, etc., or other means, devious means of avoiding it, criminal means of avoiding it. But I think they're the tiny minority, to be quite honest. I think most people just say, look, I'm going to use it, I've got to pay. And it's a huge project that needs reinvestment, and people recognise that. As I say, normally it's about 50 million cars per year. The crossing doesn't have the capacity. So it's just like a car park. And the time savings that were initially made with the barriers, in my view, have been evaporated because there are just too many cars trying to use it. And you sit there for an hour wondering, your last listener said, a contributor said half an hour. I think she's very lucky. I sat there a couple of weeks ago for an hour not moving, and there was nothing holding us up. It was just too much capacity.
Nick, good to talk to you. Thank you ever so much. Nick Freeman, lawyer specialising in motoring offences. Smithy, as I said, we've got a statement on